Hello and welcome to Brendan Petrie's Risk Management Matrix project presentation for Aviation Safety Factors Spring 2024 semester. So this is my video project presentation over two scenarios. We're going to assess the risk probability as well as the mitigation steps. On our safety risk management system, this is the second step we have over the entire safety management system, which is our risk management, which is hazard identification, as well as assessment and mitigation using the risk matrix. So dealing with risk are things that are hazards that could happen to us. It's a product of the likelihood. So the likelihood of a undesirable or unsafe situation happening, and then it is multiplied by the severity, or severity being if it's catastrophic, minor, significant, the level that unsafe situation, what the worst possible outcome might be for that. So I wanted to do a risk assessment analysis for Laterno Flight Ops. This is the most relevant workspace for me that I can kind of apply this risk assessment matrix to. So scenario one here, we have having more than 2 aircraft in one practice area. So Laterno Flight Operations, different practice areas that are going to be airspaces utilized for flight training aircraft, and where we have more aircraft now, and now we have more students flying than ever before. And so that means that the practice areas are going to be congested, and this is going to start including the outlying perimeter satellite airports from East Texas Regional Airport. And so if we start to have more than 2 aircraft in one practice area, especially if we have transient airplanes or aircraft from other flight schools that aren't Laterno, that are not communicating on frequency, we could have issues with near mid-air collisions or actual mid-air collisions that usually happen on clear, unlimited visibility, blue, sunny sky days. Scenario 2 is going to kind of fall along with dealing with the risk or hazard associated with lack of FAA regulations on required equipment for aircraft in uncontrolled airspace, class Golf airports, Echo airspace below 10,000 feet, a lot of airspace in the country where aircraft are not required to have ADS-B or radios. So some of the possible implications we have are again, transient aircraft that do not have broadcasting radios or the automatic dependent broadcast surveillance system on board equipped. And then it gets us under unsafe airport entry and departure procedures. So traffic pattern entry, things that are not regulations that are required by law to enter or depart airport traffic patterns. So here we have the ICAO value, so risk severity on here. So going back to our risk assessment product of likelihood and severity, right? So this is our hazard severity. So we have A, B, C, D, E values. So here are the ones from catastrophic, hazardous, major, minor, negligible. And then comparing the ICAO and then the FAA definitions here, but they do follow a similar description guideline on here. So kind of understanding the risk, like where do these fall into if we see this little safety risk severity chart up here. So we have the A tier, the B tier, C, D, E hazard levels, right? So hazard 5A from catastrophic to E, which would be negligible down here. So we obviously see here that the effectiveness rate of our barriers that we currently have in place to prevent the probable accident or incident, the highest ones are going to be the least effective, and then the lowest ones are going to be the most effective for it. So if we ever had an incident for the first probability or the first incident, right, we have a near mid-air collision. If this event had escalated into an accident, would have been the most probable outcome? Would it have been catastrophic, major accident, minor injuries or damage, or no accident outcome? So in this case, right, it would fall near mid-air collision would be no accident outcome. And then if we did have a mid-air collision, that would be more under major or even catastrophic accident, loss of aircraft, multiple aircraft, and then 1 or 2 fatalities. So major catastrophic looking there. And again, a description of the different accident scenarios that we have for the different levels of those hazards. we want to talk about the second scenario, dealing with possible issues of safety with aircraft not yielding the right of way in traffic patterns and not having the proper clear or pattern entry procedures at uncontrolled airports, right? Where we don't have monitoring equipment or reporting equipment, so radios or our ADSB or transponders. That's going to fall under, again, would be the similar. We could have no accident outcome issues with resolution advisories or being able to visually see traffic, right, all the way up to catastrophic accident, runway incursion issues with aircraft colliding on the runway, that type of thing, by not paying attention to proper traffic pattern entry procedures. Safety risk mitigation strategies, right? So now we've assessed and kind of analyzed the risk. How do I want to assess my mitigation, right? So avoidance, right? So operational activity. This is straight from the ICAO Safety Management System Risk Assessment Manual. Operational activity canceled or avoided because the safety risk exceeds the benefits of continuing the activity. This one would not necessarily apply to us, since inevitably we are going to be operating in the traffic pattern at satellite airports for training. We're going to be operating in the practice areas for training. Reduction of frequency of operation activities reduced, or action is taken to reduce the magnitude of the consequences of the safety risk. So one of the ways we can do this, right, is we could start including the installation of resolution or audible traffic advisory equipment on board aircraft that would be able to give us resolution advisories for being able to climb or descend, or alert the pilots of those aircraft of other aircraft operating in the vicinity. We could also take steps to mandate a required frequency or even transponder squawk code in the practice area frequency. One of the other methods we have is the terminal radar service area we have available that is available for pilots to use for traffic separation and sequencing traffic advisories and that sort of thing. Segregation, so risk segregation, right? So this would be action is taken to isolate the effects of the consequences of the safety risk or build in redundancy. So with redundancy, right, we talked about the TERSA, resolution advisory equipment, the use of mandating the use of a common traffic advisory frequency that is used for LATERNO operations, but would be good if it was required for all transient aircraft flight schools. Part 61 that were Part 91 general aviation that was not part of LATERNO. Residual risks, right? So after the initial steps to implement the risk mitigation have been in place, there is still residual risk of aircraft that would be transient to or unfamiliar, that would just be transiting through the Longview traffic area or the general area of the practice areas there. Again, it is public use airspace, public use airports as well. So there is still residual risk that there could be aircraft that will not abide to broadcasting on the traffic advisory frequency or is installed with appropriate resolution advisory equipment or that sort of thing. So in conclusion, we have a couple different methods here to reduce and mitigate, assess our risk, right? So the risk involved with our flight training, with LATERNO flight operations, as well as sharing airspace, traffic patterns, satellite airports with transient and general aviation traffic as well. So thank you for your time. References, source, citation.